Good morning, everyone. Here we are, day 17. Search and recovery efforts continued as always throughout the night and the day, and our teams are continuously working tirelessly to make progress on the site of the collapse. One shared purpose: to bring closure to the families who are waiting for news of their loved ones. We were forced to pause work briefly at around 7 a.m. due to lightning strike, but the work resumed within an hour. We do expect bad weather throughout the day, but our recovery efforts will continue. Our recovery efforts will continue despite the rain, as they always do, as long as it's Our recovery efforts will continue throughout the day despite the inclement weather, as long as it is safe for the responders. The team has recovered additional victims since our last report, and so the total number now of confirmed deaths is 86. Please pray for all of those who've lost loved ones and whose hearts are broken from this unspeakable tragedy, and for those who are still waiting. We've also made more identifications, and our police and our medical examiner are working around the clock to do everything possible to identify victims and then to very, very quickly notify next of kin. 62 victims are now identified, and 61 next of kin notifications have been made. And we're continuing the work on the audit of the list to get as accurate account as we can for those unaccounted for. And at this time, by cross-referencing names with the U.S. Postal Service, driver's license, the building roster, and more, 211 people are now accounted for. 43 people are potentially unaccounted for. It's also important to note that we can only truly account for a missing person who is deceased once the identification is made. As all of these efforts continue, the numbers will continue to change. Our Family Assistance Center is continuing to provide a multitude of services to all the families daily. They have now served 186 unique families. And finally, I want to provide an update on the ongoing work to monitor the environmental impacts for the safety of our first responders. Hazardous materials technicians are constantly sampling and monitoring the air quality, and all first responders on the pile and in the surrounding area wear proper protective gear, including masks. We also started testing very early on for asbestos, and we continue monitoring, and so far we have found no evidence of asbestos on the site. I want to thank everyone around the world and here at home from the bottom of my heart who have been caring for us every day for the last 16 plus days, and especially to the extraordinary teams from our local community and state and around the country who are part of the largest ever non-hurricane emergency response effort in Florida's history, and especially the first responders who tackle the pile with the same dedication on day 17 as they did on day 1. Buenos días, aquí estamos en el día 17. Los esfuerzos de búsqueda y recuperación continuaron durante la noche y el día mientras nuestros equipos trabajan incansablemente para avanzar en el colapso. Estábamos obligados a detener brevemente el trabajo a las 7 de la mañana debido a un rayo en el área. Sin embargo, la operación se reinició dentro de una hora. El equipo ha recuperado víctimas adicionales desde nuestra última sesión. El número total de muertes confirmadas ahora es 86. Por favor, oremos por aquellos que hemos perdido y aquellos cuyos corazones se han roto por esta tragedia inimaginable. También hemos hecho más identificaciones ya que nuestros equipos de policía y médicos forenses trabajan las 24 horas del día para identificar a las víctimas y notificar a las familiares más cercanas lo más pronto posible en persona. ¿Cómo se hacen las identificaciones? Lo más pronto, tan pronto que lo hacen las identificaciones. Actualmente se han identificado 62 víctimas y se han realizado 61 notificaciones a familiares. Ahora se contabilizan 211 personas con 43 personas potencialmente desaparecidas. Gracias desde el fondo de mi corazón a los equipos extraordinarios de nuestra comunidad local, estatal y en todo el país, que forman parte del mayor esfuerzo de respuesta a emergencias sin huracanes en la historia de Florida, y especialmente a los primeros socorristas que aborden la pila con el misma dedicación en el día 17 que hicieron el día 1. Gracias.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett.
Good morning. I spent a good amount of time this morning at the collapse site. The progress there remains intense. Much of the original pile is now at ground level or below. The intense pace is, however, creating a huge amount of dust in spite of the significant rain downpour that has just now stopped and will probably continue. There are two different operations underway now at the site. One at the original collapse site, working very carefully to recover victims, and the other at the more recently collapsed remaining building to quickly remove the rubble. It's astounding the pace at which they're working and getting that rubble out of there. Given the current pace, it appears very likely that the site will be cleared a lot sooner than many expected, at least as it pertains to the area where the remaining building was demolished. Lastly, while we continue to support the families with every resource we have, including financial resources through support.surfside.org, I want to announce that I'm working to put together a fund for our downtown businesses who have been shut down during the entire time this tragedy has been unfolding. Not only were they shut down, but while they were shut down, they were making and delivering food to all the support teams, search and rescue teams, and others. Given their generosity and their compassion, I feel it's my duty to do whatever I can do to help them get through this difficult time, which has only compounded the distress that they went through during the last year's COVID epidemic. Lastly, I've been sent some beautiful and loving items personally, supporting the families impacted by this catastrophe. I've personally delivered those items of support to the memorial wall, which will be incorporated into that wall. Lastly, thank you all around the world, everybody, for all your love and all the prayers. It's really meant a lot to us, the town of Surfside and all of the other teams that have been working with the town of Surfside to bring these people out of that rubble and reunite them with their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Surfside Vice Mayor Tina Paul.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Today is the Sabbath, and I just wanted to speak about praise and gratitude, because that's, in representing my community, we have nothing but praise and gratitude for all the help we've received from everybody, those standing with me here today, from all the agencies that have come to help us. I wanted to speak about the prayers that were said on Wednesday night from the servants of the pierced hearts of Jesus and Mary, and also all the rabbis and priests that have joined in prayer for our community. Yesterday there was a prayer circle at the site with the rabbis, and we were all there. We lit candles of your site for memory of those victims that we have. And last night I was at the prayer service at the Seaview with the families and the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli IDF rescue team. They explained the process of what how they find people. They call them souls. They don't call them bodies. They wrap them in a blanket with care. They've dug for 8 hours to be able to get one person intact. They led this prayer service, and it was very moving. And tonight they will be leaving Surfside. They will be marching at 7 p.m. from the site to the sea view. And I just wanted to thank the Israeli Defense Team, the Yededim group that has come to feed them, that have worked tirelessly 24 hours a day to feed the rescue workers that have worked 24 hours a day. I want to say Shalom Chaverim, which means go in peace, my friends, our friends. We've become friends with so many people in this community that have come to help us. And Lehitraot, we'll see each other again. Thank you so much for being with us, standing with us. We are not alone, and I appreciate that so much on behalf of my community.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Creole translator Lionel Letterbourg.
Bonjour tout le monde. Jeudi, ça fait nos 17e jour depuis l'accident est arrivé. Et l'équipe nous continue à travailler, genre que nous avons fait pendant tout le jour qui est passé. Nous, jeudi, nous sommes capables de dire que nous continuons à découvrir l'autre victime qui porte quantité que nous gagnons à 86 kounières. Et il y a un pile de recherche qui a fait pour vérifier l'identité des gens qui potentiellement peut trouver. Pour le moment, nous sommes capables de confirmer que nous gagnons 211 personnes que nous joignons et gagnons quantité qui potentiellement peut nous joindre, c'est 43. Il a continué à travailler avec auditio, avec tout spécialiste, pour être sûr que les gens que nous joignons, ils ont vérifié l'identité, ils ont vérifié le permis de conduire, ils ont vérifié l'adresse postale pour tout le monde capable de sortir correctement. Pour le moment, nous continuons à faire assistance à la famille qui certainement continuent besoin de ça. Pour le moment, nous avons 186 familles que nous avons déjà aidées et nous avons continué même genre. Qualité air dans nos zones, nous voulons assurer nous que nous checkons qualité air là pour les gens qui travaillent dans l'espace là, particulièrement les gens qui sont premiers répondeurs. Nous voulons sûr que qualité air et nous travaillons sur ça, même genre que nous avons continué à faire avant. Nous disons un grand merci à l'équipe qui a travaillé de manière inlassable depuis le premier jour. Je dis à nous dans le 17e jour là, de continuer à travailler encore. Un grand merci à eux tous.
Thank you, Mr. Larabout. And joining us here to answer questions is FEMA Federal Coordinating Officer Tom McCool, Florida Division of Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie, Miami-Dade County Emergency Management Director Frank Rollison, Miami-Dade Police Department Director Freddie Ramirez, and Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Chief Alan Comiskey. First question, ma'am.
Yes, for Mayor Burkett, you talked about part of the site being cleared faster than perhaps anticipated. Can you elaborate on what that process entails? Are you trying to basically remove all the rubble and demolish the section, and when would that be cleared?
I think it would be more appropriate for Chief Kaminsky to answer that question.
Thank you. Good morning. In regards to clearing the demolished pile in the Alpha Division, we say a lot of that we're moving just to assist in regards to our recovery efforts on the rubble pile itself. So both were adjacent to each other. So as we were delayering on the rubble pile itself, obviously now we're lower than the other area. So we want to continue moving that back and moving from the Alpha pile off-site, so it continues to assist us in the delayering process overall. We're definitely at ground level and a few feet below, so we continue on our efforts in the recovery effort, and still don't have an exact timeline. Originally we were looking 14, 21 days out. I definitely, it's a sliding scale, as I mentioned yesterday. We're, don't have an exact, but we're definitely making progress.
Sir? Mr. Chief Ramirez, are the victims that are being recovered, are they being identified by the medical examiner on site?
It's a combination. It depends on the condition of the family member, but most of it's at the ME's office. And I can assure you they're working very hard. Our crime scene, our homicide detectives, the moment we get the information, we relay it directly to the family members. And I'm just very proud of the work that they're all doing out there. It's just a family effort. Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was any information, more details about the courthouse and the Miami courthouse, why that was closed, any specifics on that, or when it might be reopened, what specific issues
So the county has taken the steps in light of what has happened here to be very aggressive about pursuing safety in all these buildings. The courthouse, while it's a county-owned building, it's in the city of Miami. The city actually is responsible for the recertification process, but we know there have been problems in this building, so this one was elevated, and some structural concerns were identified, some columns that needed to be, some support work that needed to be done. This was known, and the activities had continued, but given the circumstances, we've already authorized that repair work to begin, and so hopefully it can be done quickly, and then we return to normal operations at the courthouse.
Do you know how much of a disruption this is going to be as far as not being able to do hearings, get trials, whatever?
Yeah, so they had only been back in that building about a week, coming back post-COVID. It's not post-COVID, but coming back with new COVID guidelines. So they have all the everything they need to continue to operate remotely and also at other locations. So it should not disrupt substantially.
Yes, has there been any patterns of where the people have been found this week? The pace has really picked up. You mentioned because of the demolition, but is there a pattern to where they've been found and whether they're coming from people who lived in the higher units or lower units?
In regards to overall with our recovery efforts, it's all throughout the rubble pile. Definitely, we've seen an increase in areas that we just weren't able to search earlier. So by removing the layer in certain floors throughout that area, that's why I think we're now seeing the increase in numbers of victims recovered.
But there's not any one pattern to where they've been or what floor they're from?
No, ma'am. I mean, they've been, unfortunately, all throughout the entire building. Yeah, so originally when we arrived, 37 individuals were rescued. There's also several individuals that, were assisted or self-evacuated, in the early hours of the incident. Of the 37, unfortunately, I know one of the individuals, did succumb to their injuries. In regards to the Israeli team, they've been a great assistance throughout this whole, horrific ordeal. What they brought, the professionalism, their intelligence working, side by side with ours locally, with our state, with ours federally. I mean, it's been a great collaborative effort. We also had, the Cardenas team from Mexico. So we also had international support as well. So it's been incredible work efforts all throughout. I can't thank them enough, everyone that was here in regards to, what we did coming together and our extraordinary efforts here. And yes, the majority of the team has already left. There has been 7 individuals that were remaining, and they're planning to leave tomorrow.
In regards to the hospitalization, I believe it was 2, but I think they're in the process of already being released. The last information I got, which was about 2 days ago, it was 2.
Thank you, folks. Again, we remind you we're doing one brief per day.